Thank you, Dr. James Monkey. I now wish to invite the chair of the Kenyan diaspora in Italy, Mr. Kevin Rolex Onyango. Rolex, please.
Good evening, Your Excellency, PSS, Cabinet Secretaries, all protocols observed. Asanteni sana for being here. I'm Rolex Onyango, the Kedita Chairman, and I'm so grateful to the President to be able to give us this moment and to come to us and share with us all, and we share with you what we have as a diaspora. Asante sana. We say thank you and karibu.
Sorry, Mr. Rolex. Kindly let me take this opportunity to invite PS Roslyn Njoku, the Principal Secretary for Diaspora Affairs, Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. PS.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't intend to fall and become a member of the diaspora in distress here in Italy. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, mawaziri wengine, PSs, Kenyans in diaspora, habari zenu? Diaspora mpo? Diaspora mpo? I am very well. Leo ni ile siku, I'm very excited to be here, Your Excellency. Today, we want to shake things up a little bit. I will not give remarks. I will not speak much. I want our work to speak for us, please.
Mark this, as a result of what they have done in the last 3 years, 540,000 Kenyans have gotten jobs abroad, and our remittance from abroad has increased by $1 billion. On matters that important, and given the immense opportunities being created through what I've just discussed, and working closely with the State Department of Diaspora Affairs, we should give it focus with a view to expanding new markets or expanding into new markets and new territories.
This initiative aims to ascertain the number of Kenyans in those countries because many do not go through regular channels and they do not register with our nearest mission required. At this stage, we would also like to discourage Kenyans from traveling to countries that are experiencing this conflict of harm. I also wish to assure you that the government of Kenya shall remain closely appraised of the development of the Middle East and is committed to protecting citizens across the world.
Sisi bombs imetuaffect huku, but we thank God that the government has come to rescue us, so we are excited to go back home.
They witnessed a lot of bombing and they have a lot of trauma.
Na kusema kweli tumefurahia kujiona tumefika nyumbani, tumetoka mbali, na kwenye tumekuwa tuseme tumemkono wa Mungu tu kukua tu, tumeona mchanga ya nyumbani.
Tunataka kushukuru sana State Department ya Diaspora, ya Ministry of Foreign Affairs for all the facilitation in conjunction with the Embassy in Tehran
You will see the second group that has arrived today, which is about like 8 Kenyans, and earlier in the morning we received another group. So the government of the Republic of Kenya has successfully repatriated hundreds of Kenyans who were trafficked to scam compounds in Myanmar for forced criminal activities. Also here at the JKIA, done really tough checks to ensure that people who are traveling on the guise of labor mobility are actually going on work visas, and to ensure that they're actually traveling for work. Upon arrival, these survivors are going to be debriefed. They're going to be offered counseling services. They're going to be treated those who require treatment.
Thank you very much for that, Adele. Your Excellency, in 3 years, we've been able to do quite a bit to support the 4 million Kenyans who live and work abroad. And today we are looking forward to hearing your vision and what it is that you want us to continue to do for Kenyans, both at home and here in the diaspora. Without further ado, Your Excellency, I'd like now to invite my Waziri, the Principal Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Minister for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. Please come and after that, take over the program.
Wakenya hoye! Wakenya hoye! Wakenya hoye! Ala kumbe mnajua. Asante. Your Excellency, the President, I'll also just take 2 minutes so that you can have ample time. We speak to you more often, but this is a good opportunity for the Kenyans here to interact with you and hear you. But let me take this moment to just acknowledge the presence of the Minister for Trade, Honorable Liki Nyangui, the Minister for Environment, Honorable Deborah Baraza, the Minister for Water, Munga. We had the Minister for Energy Wandai, but I think he's stepped out. The Principal Secretary is present, please. That is the Mkwana of Industry, the Solicitor General, Mose, the owner of the function, thank you, Njogu, PS Treasury, PS Abubakar. Thank you. And of course, the rest, please bear with me. That is representative enough. Your Excellency, I just want to say that apart from having set up the Department of Diaspora, I think it's also important, since we are here, for me to actually thank you, because not too long ago, you approved for the first time in Kenya's history to have a representative of Kenya at the Vatican. This has been long overdue, but you saw it fit, and somebody was named to this mission at the Holy See, and we want to thank you, because that will be another Kenyan in the midst, working with the many Kenyans that are present here. Finally, let me thank my good friend James Mwangi for standing out to partner with us in the Diaspora Department. We appreciate your gesture. Thank you for the embassy missions who are here, staff, ambassador. Are there any others? If you're here, just stand up so that we can acknowledge you. Thank you. Thank you for doing a good job and for keeping Kenya's flag flying. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to invite His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya to address us, and if time allows, he will let us know what he would like us to do. But in this context, all I want to say is that he speaks not just for Kenya, he speaks for Africa. The President of Kenya is the champion for the African Union on matters climate change. He is the champion for African Union in matters of reform of the African Union. He is the champion of the African Union on matters of the Africa Continental Free Trade Initiative. He is equally the champion of ensuring that we can grow our capacity in pharmaceutical manufacturing on the African continent. Yes, he's loaded. Ladies and gentlemen, can we invite the President?
Thank you very much. Please, let's take our seats. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jambo. Mambo. Muko area? Hata mimi niko area. Kwanza, what language do we speak? Tuongee Kiswahili ama tuongee Kiingereza? Ati Italiano? Waheshimiwa mawaziri mlio hapa, ndugu principal secretaries na Wakenya wenzangu, mimi nimefurahi sana kufika hapa jioni ya leo. And in the interest of those who may not understand Kiswahili, I want to say how grateful I am to have this engagement with fellow citizens of the Republic of Kenya here in Rome. And looking at the numbers here, I didn't know that it was possible to have a rally in Rome. You know, Rome looked like it was far. But I think because of the growing diaspora community, not just here in Italy, but globally, we are very proud that when we find moments like this to share as people who come from one country, to share matters to do with our motherland and all the other issues that are necessary for you who work in the diaspora. I am very proud of what I have seen the Department for Diaspora Affairs doing, and it validates the request that was made by Kenyans that it is correct to have a department or a ministry that engages Kenyans in the diaspora. I think that request was not in vain. It is now clear to me that the request that was made by the people of Kenya was right, and it was the correct thing to do. We will continue with the leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to engage citizens like yourselves in the diaspora, and I must congratulate all of you for the contribution you're making to wherever it is that you work, but much more importantly, the contribution you're making to our country. As the Prime Cabinet Secretary has said, we have, I've just appointed an ambassador to the Holy See because of the importance of Vatican. We have many students here who go to college here. We have many priests, and recognizing that the church plays or played then and even now a very important part in nation building. It was just important that we deepen the relationship between Kenya and Vatican. And I'm very happy that shortly, in a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, we will have a new ambassador here who will join you other Kenyans in Italy. Having said that, and I know we were supposed to do this event earlier, but the business forum went longer than any one of us expected. It was very well attended. I was actually very impressed with the attendance, the interest shown by business people, entrepreneurs, investors from Italy, from Europe, in Kenya is immense, and it validates our position as a country, as an investment destination, and all the things that we have done to make sure that Kenya continues to attract investment and to grow and to get people in the private sector to support our development as a country. I am going to break this into just 3 things that I want to say. I want to give you a small report of what is going on in Kenya. I know you read a lot of stories in social media. Most of the stories in social media is not correct. Most of it is fake. Most of it is misinformation. 3/4 of it is disinformation. And so it's good to get a correct picture of where we are as a country. Number 2, I'm going to tell you why I'm here this particular time. And then I'm going to share with you where we want to go. Yes. So number 1, we have consolidated the place of Kenya. I am very proud of the progress that we have made. You know, when I made commitments to the people of Kenya during the campaign, many people thought I had overpromised. They actually told me as much. And some of them were sympathizing with me. In fact, I remember one bishop telling me, it's okay. You know, it's understandable that sometimes you make commitments for the sake of getting votes, but you must not keep all of them. You can leave, you can leave the difficult ones. And I remember telling him, I intend to keep every commitment and promise I made. And I'm happy that we made progress. You know, our economy has done well in terms of real numbers. You know, I remember the first assignment when I came into office, the first assignment that was on my table was how to repay a $2 billion Eurobond. That was the biggest thing on my table. And everybody expected that Kenya was going to default, including the Secretary General of the UN. I remember Antonio Guterres telling me, so, Mr. President, what is going to happen when Kenya defaults? Not if. He said when Kenya defaults. What's going to happen? And I remember telling Antonio Guterres that Kenya will not default. For those of you who follow trends, global trends, in the African continent in 2022, 6 countries were among the most indebted and were everybody expected that they will default. Kenya was number 1, Ethiopia, Angola, Zambia, Ghana, and Chad. I can tell you 5 of those 6 defaulted. Kenya did not. And we just did not default. We made very difficult decisions. Very difficult decisions. And so we cut down on our budgets, we reduced on our spending, we put on hold many projects, we stopped subsidies on unga, we stopped subsidies on fuel. And it was a difficult moment, but it was absolutely necessary. Today, you can see the difference, the sacrifices we made then. Today, our inflation, which was at 9%, is now at 4%. Our exchange rate, which had gone all the way up to 160, is now, for the last 2 years, is at 129. Interest rates that were, James Mwangi will tell you, they were going towards 20-something%. Now interest rates are cooling off around 14. And in fact, the 91 treasury bills that were at 16% are now at 8%. It's now 7.4. I was just being, the treasury man here is telling me it's actually 7.4, down from 16%. So our economy is now fairly stable. We can count on it, and we continue to do what we must do. I know because of the fuel crisis that has been occasioned by this war in the Middle East, there is a bit of disruption there, but we are trying to manage that disruption so that doesn't significantly affect our economy. But I can say with confidence that the sacrifices we made in 2022 are giving us results. Today, we have gained respect. The credit rating agencies that had put Kenya in a very difficult position, today, each one of them are now saying a different story. In fact, they are giving us, they are elevating our credit ratings, Standard & Poor's, and all the other credit rating agencies. That was my first assignment, to make sure that we have a stable economy, because if we do not have a stable economy, it is difficult to do anything else. I had to do another 2 very important things. I made a commitment that we are going to make access to credit, especially for the very bottom of our pyramid. I mean, maybe you may not know, but we had close to 7 million Kenyans who had been blacklisted in credit rating agencies, CRBs. We took a decisive step, negotiated with the telcos and all the lenders in that space, and we exited all the 7 million Kenyans. We transitioned them into the Hustler Fund space, and we saved them from being blacklisted in the credit rating bureaus. The second item we did was to build our own resources for the future, because as we think about the economy, those of you who are students of economy will know that investment is a function and a product of savings. If you do not have savings, you run a very high risk of not having any investments to make. So what did we do? We had originally changed the legal framework, but there was court issues. We sorted out the court issues. We changed the contribution structure at NSSF. And today I can proudly tell you that our savings as a percentage of GDP is growing. NSSF for 60 years had saved 312 billion Kenya shillings. But in 2 years, because we have changed the contribution structure from 2023, we have moved resources in NSSF from 312 billion Kenya shillings to 670 billion today. Next year, we will have 1 trillion shillings savings in our NSSF. And I am very confident that in 5, 10, 15 years, we will be borrowing from our own resources rather than going to China and all the other places to borrow money. That is how countries are changed. You build your own reserves. What we have been doing all the years is to consume all the money we have, and then we go and borrow from those who know how to save. And we pay an arm and a leg for it. So that you know, for all the money we borrow from all over the place, what percentage of our revenues are used to service debt? Almost. Yes. So you see, we spend quite a chunk of our resources to service foreign debt. So it is very important that we rethink who we borrow from, whether we should borrow or whether we should save our own resources and use a different development model to grow our country and to develop public infrastructure. It is the reason why in our manifesto we said we are going to have the National Infrastructure Fund, which is going to give us a different model of developing our country. And I'm very proud that finally we have a law that is the National Infrastructure Fund. I will tell you shortly how that works. Number 2, we had to sort out agriculture. You know, for those of you who remember, in 2022, there were too many people in the streets with furias in their heads talking about unga and the unga prices that time. The unga prices were around 250 shillings to 2 kilogram bags, a 2 kilogram bag of unga. We've since worked on the agriculture sector, and we've done 4 things that are significant. Number 1, we have changed the model from subsidizing consumption to supporting production. So instead of subsidizing unga, we subsidize fertilizer. Makes a whole difference. So we reduced the cost of fertilizer from about 7,000 shillings a 50 kilogram bag to now 2,500, and we have seen tremendous growth in production, whether it is coffee, tea, maize, wheat, sugarcane. We've seen exponential growth in production. Just to give you an example, we were producing about between 40 and 43, 44 million bags of maize. Last year we produced 70 million bags. This year we are on course to produce between 75 and 80 million bags, because we are putting our subsidies in the right place. I remember having a conversation with the World Bank when they came to ask me, Mr. President, why are you subsidizing fertilizer? It is not the right thing. I told them, you know, it makes the difference between us being able to produce more and keep our streets less noisy, or producing less. In fact, they were trying to persuade me that, oh, you know, okay, you can subsidize for the small farmers, but the commercial farmers, you should not. But then I told them, look, who produces for the common mwananchi? It is not the small-scale farmers. The small-scale farmers produce to eat. It is the large-scale farmers that produce for our people living in towns. So if you don't subsidize that commercial farmer, you will not have food for the people living in Nairobi, in Kibra, and all the other places. So we finally agreed that what we were doing was the right thing. Number two, we decided that we are going to get rid of all the brokers and cartels and conmen in our farming ecosystem. There were people there mismanaging our fertilizer. We got rid of them. There were others. We gave them jobs to sell fertilizer. They went and sold stones. They were chased. We had people for those of you who come from the sugar belt, we had, you know, chronic characters there who mismanaged the whole sugar industry. We got rid of them. For those of you who are in the coffee sector, we had characters who were in the coffee sector who had monopolized and created a big cartel. One person has a license to be a farmer. He also has a license to be a miller. He also has a license to be a broker. He also buys at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. He has a license, one person. So we got rid of that, and we said you can only have one license. And the difference is there for all of us to see. So we got rid of the cartels. We got rid of the consumption subsidies and instead facilitated fertilizer subsidy to facilitate production. And there is a big difference in the agricultural sector. We're producing more maize, we're producing more tea, we're producing more coffee, we're producing more sugarcane. And just because of the reforms we have carried out in the agricultural sector, our sugar production has gone up from 500,000 metric tons to 815 metric tons last year. And those COMESA safeguards we have been chasing for 20 years. I can tell you, in another 2-3 years, Kenya will be a net exporter of sugar. 2-3 years. We've licensed 5 new sugar companies and mills because and I'm happy that the fellow licensing is sitting right at the corner there. 5 new companies. And that whole sugar sector is changing. For those of you who know about coffee, coffee was selling at 50 shillings a kilo in 2022. Today, it is selling at 120, 140, 160. And part of the reason why I am here is for us to agree on how we take that up. We can double the prices of coffee. We can move it from 160 to 300 per kilo if we do it right. That is already, ask any farmer what the price of coffee is today in Kenya per kilo. So we've changed that. Our milk people are in good space. Our tea people are in good place. And we decided a third thing to do is to open new markets. We've just concluded and signed off with Lee here, the Chinese market for our tea, our coffee, our avocados, our macadamia, our agricultural products. Now we have a new market of close to 1 billion people, and already the first consignment left Nairobi, and we are looking at how to make that better. We've signed off the SEPA with UAE. We are negotiating almost at the tail end with the American market. When are we concluding, Lee? Shortly? Yeah? After this war, or this war. This war has come with many problems. So we want to expand into new markets and see and improve our product. Then number 3 was the assignment to correct the challenges we have in our education sector. We had 3 significant challenges in our education sector, actually 4. 1, we had CBC that brought many complications to teachers and parents, and most parents were complaining that they were being made to work at night by their kids, or they have been told to make a car, so they were cutting boxes at night to make the car for tomorrow morning. And many parents did not like that. I wish there were parents like the ones who are sitting here. You know what it means to have a kid. You have to follow what they are doing in schools, isn't it? Yes. But back at home, the kids belong to the teacher and the school. So we had a challenge with the number of teachers. We had a challenge with the classrooms, and we had a challenge with the funding model for our university and TVET institutions. Those were the 4 significant challenges that we were faced with. I can confidently tell you we've sorted out all of them. Number 1, we've straightened the CBC. We now have competence-based education and training. We have worked with the stakeholders. We had more meetings, we engaged the stakeholders, we engaged teachers, and that problem is now being sorted. Number 2, we've hired the largest number of teachers ever hired by any administration. We have hired 100,000 teachers. We used to hire 5,000 teachers per year. 5,000 per year. In 3 years, we have hired 100,000. So the 100,000 teachers we have hired, if we hired in the pace at which we used to hire, it will take us 20 years. And we are scheduled to hire another maybe 16 or 20,000 teachers before the end of this year. Just to make sure that every child in school has what it takes to learn. We've also built, and I want to thank our partners, working with the World Bank and other partners. We've built 23,000 new classrooms to accommodate more students, specifically in Nairobi. Many of you may not know, Nairobi, being the capital city of Kenya, has one of the most serious challenges of learning spaces in Kenya. Nairobi, the city, especially in the informal settlements. So we've tried to sort that out. In fact, I had to provide an extra 1 billion shillings beyond CDF to just take care of Nairobi learning infrastructure. Number 3, we changed the funding model. The funding model that was there was not working. In fact, for those of you who follow university education, in 2022, we had 23 universities who were declared technically insolvent. They could not pay salaries, they could not pay suppliers, they could not pay statutory deductions, NSSF, and all the others. We've changed the funding model, we've increased our budget for education from about 500 billion in 2021-2022 to 702 billion last year. And in the coming year, we are proposing a budget of 765 billion. Again, to make sure that education does not become a privilege for those who can afford, rather it becomes a right for every child in Kenya. We have also, the fourth or fifth assignment was to sort out healthcare. I made a commitment to the people of Kenya that we were going to sort out healthcare because it was not working. NHIF was a privileged club. Those who can afford, those who have jobs, those are the people who got into NHIF. And it was just between 7 and 8 million Kenyans who could access. It took us almost 2 years of, trying to figure out, because this NHIF thing, we had tried twice and failed. Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, when he was Minister for Health under the Grand Coalition, or that government tried, it didn't work out. It collapsed. We tried as Jubilee. In fact, among the big four in Jubilee, one of them was universal health coverage. And we didn't succeed. In fact, we ran a pilot in 4 counties. We ran a pilot in Kisumu, I think it was Nyeri, Machakos, and Isiolo. And that pilot actually failed. And it was declared it has failed. But I always knew that this was something doable, and it was the right thing to do, because the statistics told us that close to 1 million Kenyans went below the poverty line because of hospital bills. Selling property, Harambes left, right, and center, and all the others. So finally, we got the template right, in my opinion. Instead of having one law under NHIF, we now have 5 pieces of legislation that underpin our healthcare provision. And we are making phenomenal progress. I'm very happy with it, because we now have 30.6 million Kenyans registered under SHA, up from 7 or 8 million under NHIF. Today is Monday, right? Yes. Today, Monday in Kenya, we are paying 13 billion shillings to all our facilities from SHA today for just this month. Listen, NHIF used to collect about 28, 29 billion shillings every year. SHA, we are paying 13 billion shillings just in 1 month. There's a world of a difference, right? Because we have changed how people contribute. We have digitized the whole space. We have created a new framework. And if you listen carefully, today in every part of Kenya, there are testimonies of SHA paying for citizens. You will hear in that village, SHA paid 20,000, SHA paid 50,000, SHA paid 100,000, SHA paid 1 million, SHA paid 2 million. There is Harambes, WhatsApp groups to raise money for people in hospital are going down. And I want to tell you that in the coming year and a bit, we will completely forget about Harambes, people selling property, people selling their livestock to go and pay hospital bills. And that's the job of a year and a half, you know? That's just a job of a year and a half. So that space is going on well. There are still areas that we can improve on, and we are. And finally, let me mention something about jobs. You know, jobs is a big thing. You know, you go to every family, you go to every homestead. We have kids who finished Form 4. We have those who've come out of college. We've got those who have come out of university. And there is, you know, anxiety with parents. What do we do with children? And I remember saying that Waswahili wanasema ukiona vyaelea vimeundwa. There are no jobs that happen. They have to be created. And creating jobs has to be deliberate and intentional. You know? It's good to grow the economy. That's okay. You know, it's expected that when the economy grows, jobs become available. But that is not a straight line like that. You have to be deliberate about sectors of the economy that you stimulate because they have the potential to create more jobs than other sectors. And it is the reason why we have done 4 things. When I pushed for housing, many citizens, not citizens actually, leaders were asking me, who told you Kenyans need houses? Everybody has their home. Why are you obsessed with this housing thing? But you see, the irony is that in every manifesto of every political party, in the last 25 years, housing has always been a permanent feature. In the last election, housing was in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. Housing was in the Azimio manifesto, complete with the percentages of how Kenyans should contribute. Because everybody knows that that is the right thing to do. But when it came to the doing, that is where the problem is. So I remember this, just for your information, today in our housing ecosystem, we have 640,000 Kenyans working. How many? 640,000. Engineers, architects, masons, carpenters, electricians, name them. All manner of people working there. If you go, for those of you who have not been home lately, Kenya is slowly turning into a construction site. You go to every part of Kenya, from Kisumu to Mombasa. By the way, on Saturday I was in a place called Banisa. Nyinyi mnajua mahali Banisa iko? Banisa is almost next to the border with Ethiopia, in Mandera, up north. And I remember when I got into the car, I asked my driver there, okay, so how many kilometers is it to this place? He told me 1,090 kilometers from Nairobi. So, and in Banisa, I went to this place where we are doing a market and the police housing in the middle of nowhere. It's happening in Banisa. It is also happening in Homa Bay. It is happening in Kiambu. It is happening in every other. We have actually 200 210 sites of affordable housing, and we have 600 sites of markets going on. So what are we doing in housing? We are doing already 240,000 housing units up. We've started giving out keys. I gave out keys in Nairobi. I gave out keys in Kakamega. I gave out keys in Kapsabet. I gave out keys, I don't know where that else. And there, Machakos, and it's continuing. We have 600 markets going on, modern markets, and we have hostels for 180,000 college students in Tibet and in universities, and 600,000 people working. That was deliberate, it was intentional, but it was difficult. You know, that's how I became Zakayo. Oh, you know Zakayo? Zakayo. Because housing levy was something we had to, all right? But look at the transformation. It's changing the skyline of Kenya. It is changing the skyline of Kenya. Go to Eldoret, my own hometown, and see. Is there anybody here from Eldoret? Yes. You should go to Apo Railway and uone maneno vile inaendelea, or you go to Pioneer, uone vile mambo iko. Anybody here from Kisumu? You should go to Kisumu hapo kwa. I mean, Kisumu is. I went there and I couldn't believe it myself. 20th floor, you know, in Kisumu, and anywhere else. Go to Homa Bay, go to Migori, go to Kakamega. I just came from Kakamega the other day, and we are now doing the next 2,000 units right there in Amalemba, hapo chini. We are doing the same in Makueni. If there is anybody here from Makueni, go to Wote and see. Yeah? Or wherever. Any town. Go to Garissa. Anybody from Garissa here? Mutaona vile mambo iko. So we are changing the skyline of our country. Of course, the social media will tell you nothing is happening in Kenya. That's what the social media will tell you. And on and on and on and on. So that is one issue we are doing. Housing is giving us opportunity to create jobs and change our nation. That is what other countries have done. Number two, we decided that we are going to streamline this overseas employment story. And thanks to Rosaline and good friends at the Ministry of Labor, we had so many crooked, what are those companies called, those people? Private recruitment agencies, crooked people, you know, there. We registered close to 1,000 of them that were crooked. We have a bunch now that is left, and we are keeping close tabs on them. We have also simplified the process. We have reduced the time required to get a visa, to get a passport. We've scaled down on many other aspects, and that is why the numbers that were listed there. In the last 3 years, we have facilitated the employment of close to 543,000 Kenyans, and those numbers are growing. We have signed bilateral labor agreements to make sure that those Kenyans who work in those countries are protected, and we have a mechanism to make sure that we can get to them. We can repatriate them if we must, if there is a challenge. And you've seen the kind of work that has been done by the Diaspora Ministry. Whenever there are Kenyans in distress in any part of the world, we try to facilitate their way back home. And so that space around diaspora has not just increased numbers, with numbers, we've also increased remittances coming to Kenya. Number 3, we have also expanded the space on digital jobs. We've created a better ecosystem to create opportunities for people to work. We're expanding the fiber infrastructure in Kenya, creating more ICT hubs, creating more GTM centers, and training more Kenyans on working online. We have also facilitated the coming into Kenya of more business process outsourcing companies. In fact, the largest business process outsourcing company in the world, called Teleperformer, now has a footprint in Kenya. And we are continuing to build that ecosystem so that we can create opportunities for Kenyans to work on the digital space. And as I talk to you today, we have close to 300,000 Kenyans working either in business process outsourcing, in GTM centers, in ICT hubs, both in public and private places, working online. And we continue to build that ecosystem. Remember I said, if we have to create opportunities for work, it has to be intentional, it has to be deliberate. And that's what we are doing. I thought I should say that just to give you an understanding of where we are in Kenya. I guess that gives you a sample of the things we are doing and the change we want to make in our country. Maybe the second issue I want to say is, why am I here this time around in Italy? If I can leave that one, if I can leave the status report for Kenya. I could say a bit more things, but I know we are conscious of time, and I can see we have kids in our midst, and they need to go sleep. I'm here this time round because we have business to do with friends here. We've come to sort out some of the projects that brought problems along the way. We had a project in Mwingi that developed complications. We came to sort it out. We had a project in Baringo called Kirandich. We came to sort it out. We had another project in Nakuru, Itare, which had problems. We came to sort it out. And I think we have agreed with the Italian government on a framework to sort out all those water projects that had challenges. That was assignment number 1. Assignment number 2, under our universal health coverage program, we're trying to get some hospitals to support our counties, to elevate some of the hospitals to level 5, to provide a better healthcare delivery mechanism. We have, I think, hospitals in 17 counties, including 17 counties, including a level 6 facility in Mombasa, because we want to have an equivalent of Moi Teaching Referral Mwai Kibaki facility in Nyeri, and the Kenyatta level 6. We want to have one facility like that in Mombasa. So we came to discuss that with the Italian government here. We have a proposal which they have looked at, and I think we have also agreed on how to take that forward. Number 3, we came here to look at our education system. As I told you, we have some of the best human capital anywhere in the world. Kenyans. Our education is good. Our English is good. Yes. We speak some of the best English in the world. Yeah, that is true. If you listen to a Nigerian speaking, you don't know what. You don't know. You need a translator. Even when they are speaking English, Ama. So we've some of the best human capital anywhere in the world, and we just need to sharpen it with more training, and that is why we came to discuss here two things. Something that I very strongly believe in, that we need as a country. You know, we have good knowledge and education, but we need to sharpen our knowledge in science, technology, and innovation. If we have to move our country to a first world, we need knowledge. We need sharper knowledge. That is what other countries have done. We need to develop a higher caliber of professionals to undertake and underwrite our development. It is my belief that a country can only grow to the extent of how they can think. You cannot grow more than you can think. You cannot develop. Yeah. So we need a much more solid body of knowledge for us to take Kenya to the next level. So that's the conversation we had. We've signed an agreement with Italy to develop the space around science, technology, and innovation. And secondly, we've come to look at equipment for our technical TVET institutions. We have 60 TVETs that we need to elevate the training, especially on technical skills, and we've come to negotiate a facility to provide some of the Italian equipment for training. And then number 3 and number 4, we have come to discuss another 2 important subjects, that is leather and coffee, to develop those value chains. Why? Number 1, we have some of the best coffee in the world. We need to do more. We're doing 50,000 metric tons now. We believe we can do up to 200,000 coffee. In Kenya, there is a coffee momentum that is peaking. I found my mother growing coffee. We used not to grow coffee where I come from. But when I went home, I found my mother has grown coffee, and I was asking her, what is the story? She told me, but everybody else is growing coffee around here. You know, so there is a coffee, thing happening in Kenya. Minister Oparanya and the other teams in that sector are pushing it. I think the good prices is also fueling people to think about coffee. So we've come to discuss here a facility to help us do more, improve on the coffee value chain. Number 2, leather. Why leather? We have the 3rd largest livestock herd in the African continent, which means we have the raw material. And we only need the best technology. And this country has some of the best technology in leather. And therefore, we have come to discuss that as well. And I think we have agreed on how that is going to move forward. We've agreed on a facility that will improve on what we are doing in Karioko. We have a common user facility. That is why PS Mufana is here, and my good friend Lee is here to discuss that, the people in the trade space. And so those are some of the assignments we came to discuss with our colleagues here. We've also discussed, we came to sign off some small grants here and there. We have a grant for restoration of Cherangani Forest. We have a grant for some ASAL areas. We have a grant for some gender issues. And we are discussing a grant for a small, a good water project in Taita Taveta, a place called Lumi. Do you have anybody from Taita Taveta here? County? You come from Taita Taveta? Great. Yes, there's a place after Matate called Lumi. There, we have a water project there we are working on, and we've gotten a small facility of about 700 million to be able to undertake that project. So these are some of the things that we came to discuss with the government here, and we've gotten a very good response. It so happens that Prime Minister Meloni is a good friend of mine. The President Terela is a very good friend of mine, and we've got good engagements there. There are another couple of, what was the other thing? I think those are the things. There is another 2 or 3 things that, there is something on ICS, which we've left somewhere hanging. But we've really, I think we've done a good job, and we have earned our salary. At least today we. And thanks to Mwangi and all the other people, they have signed off some money to come to Kenya to support all those. Whenever nowadays whenever I go out to these state visits and official visits, we remember to carry the private sector with us so that they can also find their counterparts, because the private sector plays a very significant role in how to take the country forward. Finally, is the future. Yes. What is the future? Where is the future? You know, because you see, listen, friends, the future is very important. You know, we have done everything that we have done. We have stabilized the economy. We've sorted out our agriculture. We can do more. We've sorted out universal health coverage. We're creating jobs in the space around us, digital jobs, jobs in the housing markets, and all that. But we can do more. We can and must do more. And this is how I see the future. There are 3 things we must do, beginning now. 3. Number 1, we must generate more energy. We do not have enough energy in Kenya. Mumesikia power. Mesikia rafiki yangu mmoja amesema hatuwezi kukaa bila. So we need to generate minimum at least 10,000 megawatts of energy. Why? Listen, my good friends. Today we have in our grid 3,300 megawatts. You know, and if you stable, you know, installed capacity is 2,000, maybe 400, 500. On some occasions, we have to do load shedding because our peak sometimes exceeds the energy available. So we have to shut off some areas. That is the wrong thing to do. You can never develop without energy. You can never. So we need to generate 10,000 megawatts of energy. We have geothermal resources, we have wind resources, we have solar energy resources, we have nuclear energy resources, which we must develop. In fact, I've just excused Minister Opio and I because he's meeting one of our investors called Eni from here, who is working with us in Menengai. We've just given them a facility in Menengai to look at the opportunity to invest in our geothermal resources. So we have to generate 10,000 megawatts of energy at the very minimum. That requires about between 10, 12, maybe $13 billion to do. Number two, we have to escalate our transport infrastructure. You go to any part of Kenya, people are still complaining, barabara hiendi nyumbani, bado iko matope. Barabara is a problem. We still have a problem ya barabara. We do not have enough road infrastructure. I remember when we came into office with President Uhuru, we rolled out a 10,000 kilometer road program. We managed to do about 6,000. I am completing another 6,000. But we want to do 28,000 kilometers, new kilometers of tarmac. From independence up to now, we have done 20,000 kilometers of tarmac. I'm just telling Kenyans that it is good we have done 20,000. We are now, I'm completing by end of next year another 6,000, so it will be 26,000. But we need to do another 28,000 kilometers of tarmac in the next 7 years, if we are serious. That is how we are going to cover all those roads that goes to all those villages. I go to any part of Kenya, the biggest problem Kenyans have is barabara. Sindio? Yes, that's correct. And you see, we have to be deliberate. We cannot be discussing, oh, we are doing 10 kilometers here, we are doing 3 kilometers there, so you do 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers. We just have to be bold and do what I have said. Let me give you an example. In 60 years, we have done 20,000 kilometers of tarmac, which is very good. And for your information, Kenya has the third longest kilometers of paved road in Africa, behind South Africa and Nigeria. We are number 3 with 20,000 kilometers, which is very small, by the way. By comparison, Japan, which is smaller in area than Kenya, has 1 million kilometers of paved road. Do you know that there is a difference between 20,000 and 1 million? And the difference is not small. Sindio? So we are not talking about 1 million. We are saying let's double what we have fast. That requires about 1.6 trillion Kenya shillings. 1.6, 1.8, we have done the mathematics. Hiyo ya energy requires about 1.5 trillion. Mnanielewa? And then we need to do a third thing. We need to move away, not move away. We have exhausted, kind of, the area we have that we can use rain-fed agriculture. We have almost exhausted. as you know, only 15% of Kenya is arid, is arable and has rain. Only 15%. 85% of Kenya is arid and semi-arid. 85%. So we've been feeding ourselves on just 15% of Kenya. It cannot sustain our population, and that is why we continue to be a hungry country. I just want to tell you there are still too many Kenyans who sleep hungry, and it is not right. We still have too many people who don't have enough food, and it is not right. You know, you don't know how dehumanizing it is for somebody to say, Mheshimiwa, mimi niko na njaa. No. It's very helpless. So we have to go into irrigation. That's why we need water storage, water harvesting. And yet, many of those areas in Kenya, they are very fertile. The only thing that is not there is water. And sometimes people confuse rain and water. What we need in northern Kenya is not rain, we need water. Nyinyi mnanielewa? We need water. So wherever it rains, we should harvest it and make water available in all the other areas. That is what dams, water harvesting, water storage does. It gives us water to use in places where there is no rain. But we have enough rain, but we do not have enough water in those other areas. So we need to harvest the rain and take the water to those areas. So we need to, at least for us to stabilize our food security and create opportunity for us to tap into the export market, we need another 2.5 million acres of irrigation. 2.5 million acres. For us to do, we have estimated, if you speak to my PS Kimoto and my PS Corey, they will tell you we need 50 mega dams, huge dams. Many of you have heard of, so in Koru, you have heard of High Grand Falls Dam, you have heard of Dawa, you have heard of Doshi, yeah, the PS for Water is here, the Minister for Water is here. All those dams, Waziri. So we have enough water. There is still a lot of water that goes into the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean does not need any water from Kenya. So we can harvest the whole of it, and the Indian Ocean will continue to be. So this is what we need to do. We need, we've discussed this. All the dams, by the way, they've always been in our books. You know, we know where the dams are. We know that they should be done. But there has to be a mechanism to make them happen. So that requires another almost 2 trillion shillings to do. So that's why I told the people of Kenya we need 5 trillion to be able to get ourselves to the next level. And people thought I was not normal, but I am. Yes, we need 5 trillion Kenya shillings, and we are going to find it. We are going to do it. Not next year, we are starting this year. Tunaelewana? Yes. So we've started the process of getting the resources to do it. So, and with those three, we do those three, we need another 3 enablers. Number one, we need science technology innovation, number one. Number two, we need security. We have to invest in securing our country. And number three, we need to work on our governance to make sure that we deal with corruption, we deal with patriotism, and we begin to believe in ourselves. We begin to believe in our country. You know, there are so many unpatriotic Kenyans. They talk about Kenya as if they have a spare country. You know? So you demonize Kenya so that you do what? So that you belong where? Who is going to give you their country? You know? So we need to work on the software of all of us. We need to begin to think, you know, about our country in a much more positive way. So we have started the process of raising the money. We need to raise at least 500 billion Kenya shillings. Where are we going to how are we going to raise 500 billion Kenya shillings? You know, and then we can then begin to. So the first thing we did, we have raised 100 billion shillings from the Kenya Pipeline IPO. We already have 100 in the bank. We have the money. And by the way, Kenya Pipeline has not left Kenya. It is still there. It is still buried in the soil, transporting fuel. But we have 100 billion shillings in the bank. We're going to raise another 250 billion in the next few months, maybe 1 month, 2 months. And I have ideas on how to raise the balance. Because somebody must take the right decisions, however tough, for our country. That is why I made the decision that I am not focused on the next election. That is not my focus. I am focused on transforming Kenya, whatever the consequences. That's my focus. I am focused on changing this country, and we will change it. Yes, we are changing Kenya. It's beginning to look different. Give me another 6 months, come to Nairobi, and you will see how Nairobi will have changed. 6 months by December this year. I went and addressed the County Assembly of Nairobi, and I told them some hard truths on how, you know, there are many people who say they came to Kenya, but they actually came to Nairobi. And the impression they have of Kenya is what they saw in. If they saw garbage and dark streets and unpaved roads, that's the idea of what Kenya is. That's why we must reorganize Nairobi. I am putting in 80 billion shillings in Nairobi just to change it so that we can have the correct impression of Nairobi. So that is the future. We are beginning, we're going to have a new airport. We've just advertised for a new airport in Nairobi. We are going to use the money from the Kenya Pipeline IPO. And we'll use only 10 billion out of the 100. Tutaweka 10 billion hapo, tulete watu wengine wakusanye, tuende tufanye hiyo ingine, tujenge nini. Ile kitu inatakikana Kenya ni akili. That's all you need. Ni mnanielewa? Yes. And we are going to tutafanya maneno. Hii Kenya itabadilika hii. So that is how things are. That is the future we want to We're going to develop new infrastructure. We're going to generate energy. We've already figured out how that is going to. We're going to do dams. We already have 12 identified dams. Eric, with Kimodo, I already have a brief on the first 12 dams, and then we move the country forward. Don't mind about the naysayers and the other people there. They are just talking. They do not have a plan. If you ask them, what is your plan? Ruto must go. How is that a plan? How is that? It is stupid. What is, you know, I'm yet to hear them give us an alternative plan, you know. There is none, you know. You saw the other day when we had this challenge of war in the Middle East. And naturally, prices of oil products would go up. Everybody expected that. Not in Kenya, but everywhere. And then you hear somebody saying, oh, we should go and demonstrate. Really? How will a demonstration bring down the cost of oil products? Honestly, you know. So we have we've done what we have had to do. You know, we've stepped in. We've worked with our partners. We've talked to our suppliers. Luckily for us, we have, you know, what we call a G2G framework that has helped us, you know, stabilize supply, guarantee supply, and make sure that the prices are moderated at any one time. We've also deployed resources around subsidy, and we have stabilized that space. You know, I was speaking yesterday, and many Kenyans ask, why are taxes on fuel higher in Kenya than in our neighbors? Legitimate question. This is the answer. Are taxes on fuel higher in Kenya than our neighbors? Yes. Why? Is the next question, right? It is because we decided as a country that we want to develop more road infrastructure. And that is why we have more road infrastructure. We have more roads, or more paved roads in Kenya. Kenya happens to be the third country with the highest kilometers of paved road. So have the higher taxation regime in Kenya given results? Yes. We are maintaining longer kilometers of tarmac in Kenya. We are building 6,000 kilometers as I talk to you here. In Uganda, from independence up to now, they have done 6,000 kilometers. We are doing 6,000 kilometers now in Kenya. Does that make a difference? You know? So we are a much more, you know, ambitious country. We want to do more. We want to move our country more. That's why, and there's nothing that comes for free. The justification that we should be asking ourselves, are the higher taxes we are paying on fuel translating into outcomes in the road sector? That is the question we should be asking. And I can confidently tell you, yes. With more kilometers of tarmac, we are building more, we are maintaining what we have, and that is what happens in middle-income countries. If you want to compare Kenya, compare us with our peers in the middle-income space. You asked for me to talk to you, so I don't know whether you are still I don't know whether this is what you asked for or you bargained for something else. But let me stop there and say, my good citizens, the people of the great country, we all belong to Kenya. I'm very proud to be in your midst this evening, to share my thoughts on what I think about our country and where we should be going and how we should get there. I just want to assure you that it is my intention to make sure that no part of Kenya is left behind. That is my intention, and it's my deliberate intention. And that we bring all the people of Kenya on board. No section, no community, no region should be left behind. It's possible for us to move together. It is possible for us to grow together. It is the right thing to do. And that is what I intend to do. And I'm very confident. And I am very optimistic about the future of our country. Very optimistic about the future of Kenya. Kenya is going places. And by the way, we have a great country. If I were asked whether I was to be born again, I would want to be born Kenyan. Okay, let me stop there. Asanteni sana. I don't know who wants to speak after me. They can have the floor. Thank you very much.